It's 9 o'clock. Bring to order this regular meeting, July 21st, 2012. Call to order. A quorum is established, 3 board members present. Would you say the invitation, please? Everybody, please.
Our gracious and loving Heavenly Father, we praise your name. We thank you for another beautiful day at Fort Clark Springs. We pray for those in Colorado that are suffering, dear Lord. We pray that you will be with them and help them in any way that they need. We pray that you will bless this meeting today, dear Lord, and help us all to work together to make Fort Clark a more beautiful place to live. We thank you for all blessings, and we ask your blessing on our servicemen and women the world over. In Jesus' precious name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Jody Stevens, young lady sitting over here as our new Director of Operations. Announcements and correspondence. You have a few announcements and correspondence.
Oh.
This piece here is what was introduced in the files. That has nothing to do with this.
So, you want to read these two?
Yes, just this section about intent.
Okay, the first one we have is from Debbie Isaacs. Dear Sir, please accept my resignation from the executive board of your organization, effective immediately. Although I regretfully give my resignation to the board of directors, as I understand the hiring of Ms. Stevens, my daughter, it is not acceptable for me to remain on the board. The board hired her for the position of Director of Operations on 6/29/2012, and that is why I'm resigning. I hold my obligation as board member very high, and until she was offered a job, did I see any point in resigning. If she had not been offered the job, I would not be resigning. To give up my position, I believe that the board's decision outweighed my position as a board member. Fort Clark must take hold of its and our future and start running this business. Regretfully, Debbie Isaacs, June 29th, 2012. And then we have a public order and decency offenses, evidently from the Code of Law in the state of Texas or something, section 42.05, disrupting meeting or procession. A person commits an offense if, with the intent to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting, procession, or gathering, he obstructs or interferes with the meeting, procession, or gathering by physical action or verbal utterance. An offense under this section is a Class B misdemeanor. The commentary under it says, this section prohibits interference with a lawful meeting, procession, or gathering by physical action or words, with the intent to disrupt or prevent the meeting. The terms lawful meeting, procession, and gathering are broad enough to include any religious, social, or political groups. The focus of the statute is upon the disruption of the assembly rather than upon the actor's words. The actor must intend to disrupt or prevent the meeting. Simply expressing one's dissenting view would not violate this statute. Although the intent to disrupt cannot be inferred solely from constitutionally protected speech, the intent may be proved if the actor's exercise of a constitutional right is insignificant compared to the inconvenience, annoyance, or alarm caused by the speech. Is Debbie Isaacs here? This is a certificate of appreciation for your service on the board. Thank you.
And I'd like to further add on that, Debbie, that in the 2 years that I've been on the board, you're the hardest working director I've ever seen. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce the auditor, Randy, to give his report. You need a microphone?
Yeah, use this.
Well, as I promised last board meeting I was at, I came back to answer any questions now that the audit report is out and y'all had a chance to look at it, so I'll field any questions y'all have about it today. Well, I guess I'll give y'all a quick synopsis of it then. The prior year ended September 30th, 2011. The company lost $283,331. A lot of this is attributable to the economy. As I pointed out last time, the economic times are very tough, and a lot of the stuff here on the fort, other than the residents that live here, for a lot of the people who live out of town, this is a recreational activity, and people are cutting back on those due to the economy. That's what I see the biggest problem is. The board has taken some steps. A couple things they did. They cut out the employees' health insurance, which will save the company quite a bit of money, or the association quite a bit of money. They bought out the buyout contract with the hunting back here. They had a third party involved, and because the third party was involved, you were getting charged ad valorem taxes at a commercial rate. That buyout was $35,000. But in the first year, it saved $17,000 in ad valorem taxes, which will be continue to be saved over the next several years, and that, right there will pay for itself. The board's been doing what they can to limit these losses. I think this year, I haven't looked at a statement a few months ago. I believe it was showing a profit for this year, but there were some things that was in there, the special tax assessment, that and the cut down of the employee health insurance. That should put us back in the red or put us back in the black for 2012. One thing, if you go back and look at the audit report on page 6, there's a cash flow. 2010 cash decreased only $22,000, and this does not include the cash in the impound fund. This is only the cash in the operating accounts for the general fund. This year, the net decrease in cash was $85,000, but you still had $225,389 of cash available. The company has only $805,396 of liabilities, and you have $3,105,000 of equity. So your ratio of debt to equity is almost 4-to-1, which is a very good ratio. So the company's financially strong. It's been tough with economic times. And I believe the board, they're continuing to work hard to try to save money and figure out places that they can cut costs and places they can increase revenues. If nobody has any questions.
Is that booklet the report, and is it available where?
It's at the front desk at the motel. Y'all can go get a copy of it and look it over. And if some of you haven't had a chance and want to do that and have questions, call Janelle or Jody, and they'll get a contact to me, and I'll get an answer to you. Or if I'll come back to another board meeting, I'm willing to come back and help everybody understand what's going on here.
Where are legal expenses shown?
Huh?
Where are legal expenses?
Legal expenses, they're on.
They're not on what you got here. That's just a monthly recap sheet.
On this report here, they're on page 17, about in the middle of the page. The legal expenses for 2011 were $48,533. I did a little analysis of that. About 12 or 13,000 that was with repossession of properties, and some of the, the board has been very active. They hired the lady to, get real serious on these collection activities, and that was paid to Tully Shahan to, process the deeds and get them filed and everything, which in the long run, the extra cost there is going to pay for itself, because y'all repossess, what, 3 houses now? Or,
You have 3 houses, and then there's several properties.
and then several properties, and I think y'all sold one of the small trailer houses the other day for like $8,500 cash or something, they said.
Yeah, and then we had one that was 50,000, I think.
50,000. So in the long run, the collection activities are going to pay for themselves with the resale of those properties.
So is it included in this under administrative expenses?
Yes, ma'am, it would be, because that's just a total of administrative expenses. Because the total for last year was $48,533. Anybody else have anything?
I didn't bring it with me. I had some questions, but I didn't know you were gonna do it here.
Oh, okay.
So I'll
If you contact them, and I'll answer them for you, ma'am. Okay. Well, thank y'all very much, and I'd like to thank everybody in the board for Hardin or Susan B. Newsom Associates for letting us be your auditors. We really appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Next item, approval of minutes.
The only thing I have where it says down here under presentation of financial statement, it says Isaacson Roberson did not vote. I didn't vote for it. I meant to vote against it. I guess that's the same thing. Why not vote? Okay. Then I move that we approve the minutes of the June 16th meeting I make a motion that we approve the June 16th minutes as presented.
I second that motion.
Any more discussion? May I have a vote, please? May be noted, 3 directors voted. Motion carries. Request for an excuse from absence by a board member.
We need to approve
Page
the
C,
other,
you need to approve those minutes.
like the other minutes.
What other minutes? I only got 1 minute here.
Well,
There's another,
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from the special meeting of June 29th, 2012.
Sorry.
I second that motion.
Any more discussion? May I have a vote, please? Motion carries. All right. Now we get to the excuse.
Did you get a copy of it?
You have a copy of it?
I didn't bring my copy. I had a copy in my office. I didn't bring
Right,
it.
that's-
You turned it in.
We can-
Before you left, requesting to be
All right.
excused.
I make a motion that we excuse Vice President Lee Winchell from the monthly meeting that he missed.
I second that. All in favor? Motion carries. Okay. Presentation of financial statement.
I'll get it up there. I make a motion that we approve the financial statements as presented to us for audit.
Discussion?
How come we don't have the income expense statement in this, or am I missing it somewhere? We've had some in the previous months.
There was a glitch in the computer system. It would only, for whatever reason, it would only print the first 4 pages. But it's something they're working on, and as soon as we get finalized, get that rolled out or whatever, we'll provide it on the copy. But for whatever reason, it was presenting the P&L and
Yeah, we got everything except the income and expense statement it would appear to be, yeah.
right, for the individual departments, right? We'll get that to you just as quick as we can get it generated.
Any more? Any more comments?
I don't have any more.
Wait, can I ask a question? On the recreation
expense of almost $10,000, what does that include?
I really don't know, but turn the other way. Shirley can answer it for you.
It includes all the stuff we buy for the pool, the teen center, the adult center, all the expenses.
And the salaries too?
It's all put together.
May I make a comment, seeing that somebody stood up and asked a question? Please hold your questions until the 15-minute discussion period. I would much prefer it run that way. That way we don't have everybody going up and asking a bunch of questions. That's okay. Okay. Does that satisfy your question? No, then.
Yeah, I'm calling for a vote.
Okay. Could I have a vote on vote?
Or no?
We have a second.
We were voting, right?
Yes.
Okay.
See,
I vote that we
Roby
approve it.
didn't lift his hand, so I did. 3 members voting, 1 abstained. Approval of transfer of funds.
I'll make a motion that approve the transfer funds as presented to the board in their packet.
I second that.
Anybody got anything you want to say on this? Any discussion?
No.
May I have a vote, please? 3 members voting, motion passes, 1 abstained. The next is the report of the Director of Operations, Ms. Stevens.
I'm assuming, can you hear me? No.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? I guess in the past, this is how this is kind of ran as far as a report of wins for what's going on at the fort, I'm assuming, right? Facility rentals. This weekend, we had the Service Club, Swim Park, Rendezvous Park, and Saber Room all rented this weekend for reunions and church groups. Motel was full this weekend, 41% occupancy, which is up 32% this time of year from last year. Revenue up about $11,000, close to $12,000 over June, over last year. Occupancy rate so far in June was 50% compared to 18% last year. We're glad to have the pipeline and wind farm workers staying here with us. Golf course, we have volunteer groups that are working on fairway number 10. I believe that's Mark and Art. And Adult Center and Teen Center Revenue Activity Center was $613 and $112 at the Adult Center. Pool revenue for the month of June was $4,373 with year-to-date total of $5,861 with revenue brought in. We do have another 422 coming in from the Get Fit group. Membership stats, 15 FRMs sold during June, and several have been sold this month already. 10 transfers of membership property processed this past month. In collections, which we probably should be aware of, about $12,437 collected during the month of June, for a year-to-date total of $45,087. 26 memberships are on payment plans, varies from month to month because of those who pay in full and others added on.
Thank you. Now we go into our committee and organizational reports.
Can I ask a question?
Certainly.
We had talked previously, and you weren't party to any of this, but we had talked as a board about trying to do something different with FRMs for the temporary renters and a renter's fee maybe that would allow them to get placards and be members, temporary members essentially. Or has any of that been discussed with you, or has that went anywhere yet? Or
No. I have been getting my head around how many renters we do have. I think probably we can put that on the next month's agenda so we can discuss that. And so the next 3 weeks I can compile all the data that we can use for an informative session, and then you guys can then vote on how you really want to go about it after some suggestions from our side.
Right, that's what I wanted to make sure that somebody, we were kind of kicking it around as a board on how to make it easier, and maybe we could generate more income and make it easier on the renters and keep track of who was what. And if, I thought maybe you hadn't been party to any of that information as of yet.
Right, it's actually, we have kind of gone, I guess on Wednesday, I sat down and got a list of the renters.
Okay.
And then so in the next 3 weeks, we can really hammer that out and get you some real facts and some real suggestions.
Okay, thank you. Oh, and the computer system, what is happening? I know there's I forget the guy's name, is going to be here shortly, sometime this coming week.
Monday.
23rd,
What happened to the old and new, and where are we at, and now there's a glitch in it, and what's going on with that?
yeah.
Well,
Do you want to answer that?
I can answer it to the best I can at this time.
Okay.
Where the computer system was, this was voted upon, what, a year ago for the new top system?
Substantially,
Roughly?
yeah.
No,
Roughly not.
roughly not.
How long have we been
It was
doing the
supposed
top
to have been
system?
operational last September.
Right.
Okay, so I think when some new staff came on board, coming into the middle of a situation and learning all of the problems and troubles that maybe the TOPS company didn't get, what's on our end, and doing much research and really trying not to just throw in the towel as soon as somebody gets here. They really want to learn the back processes and really give the system a chance so that we don't just throw it out the window after dedicating since last September this new system. So after lots of trial and error, we do have our programmer coming in tomorrow who will be spending all day with us Monday and then part of Tuesday, I believe, to get down to the nitty-gritty of what we can do with this system. A for sure answer, yes, it's going to work, or no, it's not. But it's leaning to no, it's not. Now, the next step in that process is we have just so you all know, this has been can I do this right now? Just so you all know, there's so much in our current system that is outdated. It is not easy for anybody to walk in here and make a quick decision of how this picture really looks. It's about 100,000 pieces, and I'm trying to put these pieces together, and anybody in each department is doing the same. So, unfortunately, to answer your question, TOPS is probably not going to work, but we're going to work really diligently on a new system that will work. And I know probably people are cringing because of money. I got it. But we'll have to do a real deep dive research in what is going to be right for this company to grow, and so that we can all have a full picture that's clear and concise. Currently, we do not have that. Our system has been functioning for the past 28 years, at least, limping along, and it is not something that is good for us as a whole because we can't see that big picture. So do note that we will do a deep investigation before we get ourselves into another situation like we did with TOPS.
Okay.
The guy that was, the way I understand it, that we have somebody, I guess the guy that's coming in this coming week, that was converting from DOS to more of a Windows type base software. Is that what he was doing for us, or?
He's coming to see if he can't himself reprogram some of the things that we have, but he has to see the way our codes are written. There has never been a tracking system of those codes. So we really have to deep dive into that. And since Mr. Greg Link, is that his name, is not really working with us so much anymore, who had all those codes, that's what Mr. David's going to come in here and try to accomplish in the next couple of days.
So what will, I mean, it's kind of like right over my head here on he's going to fix it somehow, right? That's what he's.
Not
No.
necessarily.
Not necessarily. He's going to see if he can come in here and rebuild us a system that is unique to Fort Clark Springs.
So he's going to run. Excuse me. He essentially is coming in to try to write a new program that will replace what TOPS should have done, but what we need for tracking all our expenses and.
He's going to see what he can do. He needs to look at our system first. This is the first time he's going to be in here live and getting to set with a computer.
Okay. and I may be wrong in my understanding, because like I say, it's kind of over my head by quite a little bit. It makes my eyes glaze over. But he's taking it from the, is it still going to be a DOS-based system?
No.
Okay, so he's converting it to something that's newer,
He's going
more
to see if he
functional.
can convert that, yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll see if he can.
Yes, sir.
And then it will be able to fit into another program of some sort,
Could-
possibly?
Could we,
Possibly.
halt right there, because you're going to get all that information when you talk to the gentleman on Monday,
Okay.
okay? All right, let's go to the committee and organizational reports. Architectural. Not you. Is there nobody from architectural? Recreation.
Okay, first of all, we want to welcome Jody and let you know we have you on our school support. The reason why we tried to do a little reception this morning to the recreation committee and then we do want to be supported in every way that we can, so just let us know. Recreation on the fort is an ongoing thing. We have had some people think that we don't do anything here on the fort, and some of it is because they don't have access to a computer. So I assume that we have a hard copy of what's happening on the fort at the adult center, RV park, administration, just so somebody could come in and find out if they want to. So we need to do that, but I think the people, we here as people in the fort, need to know that we can get as involved as we want to get. There's something going on continuously here. There's just kind of run over these for y'all that don't have a computer. We have cards and dominoes at the adult center. There's wood carving in Unit 37, night and day. There's Bible study at the RV Park on Wednesdays at 10 o'clock. The ceramic shop is open from 1 to 3 on Thursday. The art studio welcomes people. You can get involved and have as much to do as you'd like to do. It's a fun place to live. We have a potluck dinner monthly. And for y'all that haven't been there, and most of you haven't, it's not just a time to eat and go. We visit. We always have some sort of an activity, interactive game or activity to get better acquainted. So it's fun. We have this potluck. This last month, we had 35 people there. We could have had a whole bunch more if y'all all come. So we'll look for you next time. This coming August potluck, in lieu of that, we're going to, the Recreation Committee is going to sponsor ice cream social. We'll provide ice cream for banana splits, sundaes, whatever you want to make. The only thing we ask is that if you that come, that can, just bring us some of your favorite cookies to share with people. That'll be on August the 18th, on Saturday, at 3 o'clock at the adult center. Okay? So anyway, y'all, this is a fun place to live. So just join us and have some fun.
Thank you. RV Park?
We're real busy out at the RV park, and we're glad to see all the people here for the summer. We usually have 8 or 9 people out there in the summer this time, and last night I had 47, and it's running about that 47, 48 every night. And I'm just tickled to death to have the crowd. We've been real busy keeping the grass mowed with the recent rains. It's been really good. I want to thank Harlan Wright for trimming the trees so I could get the lawnmower under them. Really appreciate that, Harlan, and appreciate all the volunteers that do things out there. Just a happy place to be, and I'm just glad to be a happy camper. Thank you.
Thank you. Golf?
Okay, as Jody said, we're ready to start on number 10. We've got compost ready in 2 or 3 of our compost bins. We've got Men's Association President told me this week that we have 2 semis of sod just waiting to come to Fort Clark. We have checked out the sprinklers, make sure that they cover all areas. Right now, we're basically waiting for Domingo to return. He's been out of town because of the family emergency. So once he gets back, when we have access to all that equipment, we're going to go. Now, we will have to close hole number 10. We've discussed whether or not we can open it as a short par 3. We haven't quite decided that yet, but we're going to make that, that hole is the one that everybody sees as they drive by. So we want everybody to watch as we redesign and make this course better, because we'd like to bring more money onto the course from just the membership fees. And with San Felipe also having some problems, if they continue to do so and we keep our course in good condition, we may draw some of that business from Del Rio. So, does anybody have any questions about what we're doing? By the way, the Men's Association is pretty much footing the bill for this. The only thing that the Ford is doing is the normal upkeep of that and the use of some of the equipment to compost and things like that.
Thank you. Preservation? Would you do that, Betty?
I'm unprepared. We had our meeting Wednesday, and we've got things in planning that we're going to try to pick up. The Historical Society has given us a list of things that need to be improved in order to keep our tax status on the buildings, and that's in our plans to do that. We've got, you know, the figures from festival, what was it, 9,800?
Yes, somebody's around there.
Yeah, and we've got the impound dollar that we're getting now. It's
Over
gonna help to
4,000.
do a lot to do these improvements.
I think everybody understands that money that was voted on through the last election, that we get so much each month from the impound fund to carry on these repairs to the building. And I've already received 2 months worth, and should be another one just about around the corner.
And this in turn will help us with these buildings to keep them in the tax cut because they are historical buildings. Otherwise, they'll go back into just regular taxes on buildings, which is gonna save the Ford money.
Right. Thank you. Community Council?
Community Council held their meeting last Saturday. We had a very lively discussion about ways in which Community Council can become more involved. We've always been very involved in the fort, but we are the member organization that communicates to the administration and the board what members are. I think Sherry touched on some of it. There was confusion, members not understanding the number of activities that are available to them. We took that one apart pretty thoroughly, but some new ideas are coming up. We also are exploring fundraising beyond 4 o'clock days so that we perhaps can do some of the things inside buildings that the money we contribute to the preservation effort, that goes for outside work. We want to try to start on the inside of buildings. I don't think anybody here would argue that a lot of our buildings need a fresh face on the inside as well as the outside. So we're working toward that. Sherry has got bingo going all summer long. She's actually getting bigger crowds, if I'm not mistaken, now than she did during the winter. Again, activities for summer residents. They're here. Make yourself, take advantage of it. There's plenty doing. And we welcome anyone, by definition, all members of Fort Clark are members of Community Council. So you're all welcome. It's not a you gotta join thing. It's there, and we do a lot of volunteer work. We have a lot of fun. Can I also tell Fort Clark Days gave a check to the Preservation Society for $9,820 some odd dollars for this past year's Fort Clark Days that will go back into the Fort building.
I was going to interject something in the community council. Are you guys, do you work directly kind of a little bit with the director of operations? The reason being, when we interviewed her, she had a lot of ideas and possibilities about fundraising events and things in the future. And I wondered if you were kind of coordinating with her or seeing if they both matched or.
We have begun those discussions.
Okay.
And I have a feeling it's going to be extremely productive.
That's what I was hoping, that you could work with her rather than wait for a month to come by and go through the board and do it. You could kind of approach her a little bit.
It's ongoing. It's ongoing. Community council is kind of like everything else around here. It isn't a 2-hour a week or a month job.
No, I
It's
didn't.
an ongoing.
I wasn't insinuating it was. I just wanted her to be in that loop.
You might as well stay up and do recycling.
Yes. I decided I wouldn't, my knees get creaky when I mention it many times. Recycling sent another load this past week. I unfortunately have to tell you that the prices for recycled goods fell yet again. I will just remind everybody that the amount of goods that are currently being recycled are going to save us a landfill cell annually, and that total for one cell is, well, it was 40,000. We all know the next time around it'll be more. We had a huge load of recycled material, office paper, come in from the city of Brackettville. We had a large load from our administrative offices. So we thank you all for getting on board and getting involved. It saves every single member money every time something's recycled. So come join us, and we need volunteers.
Thank you. Appointment of the board member to fill the vacancy on the board of directors. Do you want to talk about the person? And then we'll go into the swearing.
Ms. Kiwi Peak, would you step up here? This lady, I've known her mom ever since I moved aboard the station, and or the association. I'm still in the service. Anyway, her mother made us welcome in the neighborhood where we moved, and I met Kiwi through her mom, and she is dedicated to the fort. She's got involved already, and I think she'll be a great asset to the board. Thank you.
I'd like to do is swear.
Right over here. Well, you can stand.
You stand right there. We're going to swear you in first. And that's the next thing, swearing in of a board member. By the way, Keely was the only person we ended up with on our short list. You got shorter and shorter. What?
I think we need a motion to.
Yes, we will.
I make such a motion.
Okay.
I second the motion.
All in favor? Motion carries. But as I was saying, we had a couple, actually almost had three at one time, but then it just went down, and poor Keely, she ended up on the hot seat. So I'd like to swear her in as a new board member, and everybody to welcome her aboard. Roby will read the oath.
Do I have to put my hands on? Okay.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will uphold and support
that I will uphold and support
the Declaration of Protective Restrictions,
the Declaration of Protective Restrictions,
the bylaws
the bylaws,
and regulations governing the administration of Fort Clark Springs Association.
and the regulations governing the administration of Fort Clark Springs Association.
I further swear
I further swear
that I will represent the interest of the membership
I further swear that I will represent the interest of the membership
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Welcome to the Board of Directors.
Thank you.
Have a seat and join the crowd.
This is Jody. Welcome aboard. Jody, welcome aboard too, Jody.
The next item on it is number 16, which I moved down to the end after we come back from executive session. So we'll go to number 17, no, 18. No? 17. So, discussion, consideration, gravel concrete work at the RV park.
I would like to make a motion that we defer this until the Director of Operations has that chance to look over the situation.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Any discussion?
What were we gonna discuss? Were we gonna approve it, or?
No, he's.
We're just deferring it until she gets a chance to study it.
She hasn't had a chance to study what you proposed, or, okay, any of that. No other discussion?
No.
All in favor? 3 voting, 1 dissent, 2 dissent. Discussion, consideration, rear bathrooms in the RV park.
I move that we defer the action on that also until the Director of Operations had a chance to look at the situation.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? No.
Yes.
Yes.
The rear bathroom is the one that we're talking about. That was to meet ADA specifications. I realize that our Director of Operations hasn't had a chance to formulate a plan for that, but this is the second time that this motion has been deferred. Last month we asked for a bid on that bathroom, and so I'll go along with referring it this time, but next month I would like to see a bid on the bathroom so we can further plan in the RV park as to whether we're going to build a new center or what, so we can formulate a plan, a 5-year plan for the RV park. Thank you.
Any further discussion?
And I guess probably look at the old contract we had with, because there was some discussion about the guy was going to make him ADA compliant and didn't, or it was kind of a nebulous contract maybe. See what results we can have there to maybe come out on top this time instead of getting beaten.
Any further discussion? All in favor of deferring? Motion carries, 3 voting, 1 dissent. Discussion, consideration on the hunting program for the coming season.
I'd like to make a motion. I move that the Director of Operations to move forward with the plan for the 2012-13 deer harvest, including the appointment of a game management committee, seeking guidance from the game biologists and working toward the establishment of a 4 or 5 year game management plan. Also, I would like to add to that motion that so that we don't have to vote on it again or bring it up after they discover a plan, that bow hunting will be allowed this year. Thank you.
I second that.
Any further discussion?
We will have the results before it actually goes into effect. The board will get to see.
It'll come back to us for approval.
I wonder if a board member should not be part of that committee to enhance the flow of information to us, or alternatively, maybe attend the meetings as an ear, if not a, appointed member of the committee. It might make the flow of information easier, unless D.O. Stevens has a better idea for how to help us stay apprised.
Sounds like you got a volunteer.
Actually, you do.
There you go.
You do. I do volunteer if it seems like a good idea for a board member to be party to that committee.
Definitely.
I volunteer to be that person.
I agree with that. Thank you. I was gonna nominate you to be on that committee, but that's all right. You volunteered.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. 4 voting.
Discussion?
Okay. Discussion, consideration, and agreement with the city and the landfill and the brush pit usage.
I move that we would defer this one until the Director of Operations has time to look it over. And also, not trying to tell her how to do her job, but take into the consideration that fuel expenses have went up considerably since this contract. The amount of times the city uses the dump versus the amount of times we do, it costs extra staff on our part for the city to come over 2 or 3 days a week, or they don't really have a schedule. It doesn't appear like they kind of come when they feel like it, and we have to hurry up and man the dump. Also, the amount of monitoring we have to do, if that costs are going up as well, and just see what it's going to cost the city to their next option and charge accordingly, I would suspect.
Absolutely, and I've already started some of that legwork. I got numbers of how much we spent total year to date, and then projected in the next 2 months to close out the fiscal year. How much the city has been paying us over the past 10 months, and the projections, what we'll bring in from that. As well as I did go to the landfill yesterday and seeing how the flow was going. And yes, those issues are on my list as well, because we can't keep sending people over whenever the city feels like it. So we'll have to really sit down and hammer those things out, see what the city wants to do, and start those conversations, and then compile that information again and bring it back to you guys to decide on, and young ladies.
All right. Since we're talking about the landfill, prior to you coming aboard, Ms. Stevens, we made a motion to look into and possibly get a bid on a sheep's foot, which is a piece of equipment that packs the
Right.
down so that we could maybe reduce or increase the time that our landfill is viable before we have to dig new cells. And we made the motion, we approved it, but it never seemed to go anywhere. And I would appreciate if you would check into that and see if it is a viable option for us.
Absolutely. I realized yesterday how much I was really impressed with the gentlemen that are running the landfill. It's pretty clean, cleaner than what I expected it to be. I'm really proud of our staff, and not only that, in conversations, some of my data that excuse me, I'm collecting is what rate or is the city filling up our cells compared to what we are. So if it was just us dumping in there, we'd have 4 to 5 years before we'd fill up one cell. Currently, we probably have in the current cell, rough estimates, is about 1.5 years, 2 years max before we have to dig another cell, which is going to be very costly. So these are all the factors we have to take into account before we make this next decision. However, we all know that the city is helping pay for running our landfill. So these are all things we're going to have to take into account and put our heads together and come up with the right plan for the fort. And maybe it's more restrictions on the city on when they can dump certain days, and getting it reduced down to just 2 days a week between us and them. I don't know, but we'll figure it out.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion carries.
To interject something as well, it has to do with the landfill, but it doesn't have anything to do with this motion. I wonder if we ought to inquire about how many certified people we have to run the landfill, and if we need to start training somebody else, or the costs involved in that. Because if we've just got one guy and he shells out, then we're in big trouble. We made a
Well, we have currently we have one gentleman who is certified. We have to get him back to be recertified before December. That's when it expires. That gentleman has been with us for 15 years, so I don't really see him vacating anytime soon.
well.
But yes, somebody could be cross-trained, and we could look into who could be sent to get another licensing. Absolutely.
Okay. Number 21, discussion, consideration, association vehicles leaving club grounds.
I'll make a motion that we discuss these vehicles, discuss the problem of vehicles leaving the ground numerous times during the day without the director of operations knowing who's on the fort and who's off the fort. In the past 2 weeks, I have noticed that, or followed 3 vehicles to their residents, and this is not during lunch hour or something like that in their vehicles. I've had numerous complaints from members of the fort of them following the vehicles to their home of residence. This is an ongoing problem, and I guess my motion would be is I make a motion that the Director of Operations look into this problem and see what can be done about it, and that only 2 vehicles authorized to leave the fort, and if any other vehicles have to leave the fort, they should have Director of Operations approval. And I hope I'm not stepping on your toes.
Do I have a second? Second. Further discussion?
That was a very, I'm sorry, the motion got kind of
Ram-
long
yes, it
here.
did.
Can we tidy it up a little bit?
Yeah.
Please.
I make a motion that we only allow 2 vehicles off the station at one time. Any more than 1 vehicle off the station should get permission from the Director of Operations. Is that
All right. I'm gonna
tidy
offer-
enough?
Are you done?
Yeah.
I'm going to offer a comment on this because I'm the one that put it on the agenda. I too have noticed over a large period of time that we do have an awful number of vehicles that are not where they should be, which is here, instead of out there, wherever out there is. Now, they've even been over, and I talked to Janelle about this, they've been to Uvalde, they've been to Del Rio, and the comment is, yeah, they had to go for parts, or they had to go for supplies, or something like that. What I'm trying to do is throttle it down to responsibility, and responsibility is going to set with either the manager of maintenance or the director of operations, probably both together. So I'm suggesting that we do this because of the unauthorized use of taking vehicles wherever they want to go, when they go. Now, they should only be going off on official business. This also goes into line with saving us money because it's our gas that's going putt-putt down the road every time they go somewhere else. Having said that, do you have a comment, Ms. Stevens?
To make a motion to narrow it down to 2, I can't say that wholeheartedly yet. You've got 17 vehicles that are registered and insured. You've got a dump truck that needs to go back and forth between the landfill and the fort. You've got the trash truck, and we have Chewy who leaves every day, takes a truck and goes down to landfill. Then you've got somebody else, Mr. Walker, who has to go back and forth in one of our trucks. So out of 17 vehicles, I can probably get it down to just the regular pickup trucks to 3, 3 to 4.
You're talking about and I apologize.
And you get the security
truck. That's what we were
as well.
talking about, regular pickup trucks.
Okay,
That's all we're talking about, pickup trucks.
but I would still with regular pickup trucks, I'd say 2 to 3, maybe even 4.
Yes.
I have a concern with perhaps over-encumbering the Director of Operations when maybe the responsibility lies at the level of the supervisor of that unit. And that is my comment.
That's right. I included the 2.
I would agree with Ms. Peak. I think it's something the director should probably look into and decide what her best guess is. Or I don't think we need a motion to, at this point in time, I don't think we need to make an ordinance that only limits 1 truck or 2 trucks or 20 trucks. Say,
Or that makes it that Ms. Stevens has to know on a per-case basis every day the comings and goings of these trucks. I
right,
think
she
that
doesn't need to
might-
be stationed down there at the guardhouse counting
Right,
vehicles.
that
She
might
has
interfere with
other
more
rats to
productive
kill.
work for her.
Well, since I made the motion, I'll make a motion to rescind it on the grounds that I think that the Director of Operations has heard all her concerns
And will act accordingly.
and will act accordingly. You have a second on that motion?
Second that. All in favor? Motion passes. What?
We rescinded the original motion, so rescinded the motion on just 2 tracks, so we're, on the grounds that the Director of Operation has heard concerns and will look into it.
I will say, you know, I have trouble keeping my mouth shut. As far as the vehicles going into Del Rio, I do know either last week or the week before, they did go in. We had to order a coin-op dryer for the RV park. They went in to pick that up because it's cheaper to go in and pick it up than to pay $75 or whatever to have it delivered.
What-
While they were there, they always, when maintenance or golf maintenance is going to Del Rio or Uvalde, they check with the other departments to see if they need something. Generally, they pick up something maybe at Napa. They may pick up something at Walmart. They may pick up something at Sutherland's. Just to give you, and I'd explain this to you, but I felt like everybody needed to know this, and I know there's certainly a difference in
Well,
opinion.
yeah.
Another thing, sir, I have a problem with board members following employees.
I don't, because our gas bill was $52,000 for last year.
I do realize that, and I've seen this myself, where employees are maybe going where they're not supposed to be, and I will make that comment myself that I've seen in my own right, with my own eyes. We do have a little bit of a problem, and it will be looked into. And not to say that they're not doing their jobs and not going where they're supposed to be, but sometimes it gets a little lackadaisical, and there's a middle ground everywhere. Not one person's bad. But if there's somebody not watching, then of course it's going to be taken advantage of. And we're going to reduce that.
Now we'll do a 15-minute discussion. No, then I'll stand there for the big push-up.
Would you like to go?
That's a minute. We'll hold it down. Can we come to order, please? The first name on the list is Judy Cable.
Yeah, it should be
Right
on.
here, Judy. How you doing?
Good, thank you. Am I on?
You're on.
Well, first I want to welcome our new Director of Operations, Ms. Stevens, and I thank you all for your service to the fort, and I mean that, I really appreciate it. I'm here today to say that there is a large, silent majority living in Fort Clark Springs, and they're silent because of the negative political atmosphere that we have here. They believe that we need new aggressive management on the fort. We welcome Ms. Stevens and believe her background in management and marketing will well serve the future of the fort. This is personal from me. I believe the board of directors of the fort should operate more like the board of a corporation. Agree to long-term direction and objectives of the Director of Operations in meeting this long-term direction. No micromanagement of day-to-day operations. If I had heard any discussion here today about day-to-day operations, I would have liked to have heard something about limiting the liability of the swimming pool, not who goes where in trucks. Since I have been a member, summer of 2008, each board of directors has approved new contracts and canceled old contracts at great cost of time, turmoil, and money to the membership. It is my understanding that a board member is circulating a petition to have 2 board members removed prior to an election which is coming up in 2013 anyway. Please stop these costly activities and allow us to move in a more positive direction, possibly look at getting a restaurant at the most beautiful site in the universe, Creekside. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Sherry Ellis, or is it Cheryl?
I put in a proposal a while back. I'm looking to open the restaurant on the golf course. So I'm gonna get together with the board of directors and see what we can do to make that happen.
Thank you. Mary?
Mary Putnam.
Yes.
I have 2 questions. I don't understand what is needed for the Historical Society to bring a building up to tax code. And I just like a specific, like give me an example. Do we need to change windows? Do we need to caulk the bricks? What is it we have to do to bring us up to tax code?
Well,
Are you
sometimes it's more than just what you're talking about. It's the outside envelope that we're concerned with, and that's what they inspect. I'll give you an example on the theater. Theater has along the edge on one side, you can see there's big cracks going up through it. That's one of the things they want to correct. We did the door on the looking at the theater on the right-hand side. The one on the left-hand side has some molding and stuff that has to be repaired and repainted. That's an example. One of the things that happens with this whole program is you get to designate, you get the tax break, but that doesn't stop there from the first time you do the work. We've got the continual maintenance to keep going with. Service Club over here has painting, it has some boards that are rotten, and then a few other things. That's a typical example.
So some committee comes and inspects, or some person comes and inspects, or how does that work?
It's the historical,
Kent County.
yeah, I was going to say hysterical, but I've changed my mind, group across the street. And we work with them. They bring the reports to us. You know, I'm on that other committee that does the repair work. So
The Kinney County Historical Society
Mhm.
is the one who is the grandfather of this?
right.
Okay.
More or less, yes, and they bring a report to us, and it has the nature on it. This time it was what's called a gray report. You know, we're close to failing, but we're not failing. So we have to do all this work, and it has to be done before December.
Okay, I got it. The other question is, you mentioned, Judy, that the city brings us white paper. Does the school participate? Where are you, Judy? Does the school participate in the recycle? Do they bring us paper and plastic and all that?
Yes, they do.
I mean, obviously, school's
Okay.
out right now.
During the school year.
Right.
We don't see anything in the summertime, but during the school year, their paper is brought. We tried to set up a program for soda cans and water bottles and so on, and it did not succeed well because there's no one to monitor that activity, and we got cans that were full of chewing gum and cigarette butts.
I get it, I get it.
Okay?
Okay. I can visualize
There's
it.
a limit.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. John? Yeah.
Because of the discussion or the investigation into the RV park is going to take place, it occurred to me that a lot of us down here received our first impressions of the Fort Clark community as residents, temporary or long-term, in the RV park. And that impression usually is formed very quickly. You either love this place right off or you hate it and don't want to come back. I was pleased to know that we abandoned, I hopefully abandoned, the KOA concept, because one of the things about that RV park that's apparent, especially now that we've got workers staying there, and fortunately for the RV park, generating a good deal of income that would be non-existent during the summer months when the winter Texans are gone. And it's also been my impression that little consideration has been given to the actual improvements of the park simply because it needs improvements. I've seen what improvements have been made have been really good, and I have understood from other sources that a lot of the finances generated by the park don't go back to the park. And so my hope is that in investigating what should be done to improve the park, that you think about it for the benefit of the park, because a lot of the people that come down here love that RV park, and a lot of us who have bought places down here oftentimes go back and visit through that park with people, and even meet new people that won't even be here permanently. And so I hope that a good deal of consideration will be given to the benefit of the RV park.
I think in retrospect of what you're talking about, with Ms. Stevens aboard and the rest of us here, we're all looking down the road to take and develop not just one segment here or one segment there, but an overall segment of a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. It depends which one we can work out. To take and address all the different areas on the campus, so to speak. So the RV park will be in the loop too, to see what needs to be done. All right. Is it Alice?
Yes. This is my first meeting here, so excuse me if I ask a stupid question. First thing I want to do is protest bow hunting, for whatever that's worth. Most bow hunters are not near as skilled as they think they are. I agree with the harvest of the deer, and by the way, they look a lot better than they did 2 years ago. But my next question is, when we went through the committees, I noticed that we did not have a deed restriction committee. Do we have such? Do we need such? How is that controlled? Do we have any codes? I know this is a private city. How long can a vehicle sit not running? How tall can the grass get? How much trash can you have around your place? I'm just asking the questions.
I think most of those questions, ma'am, will be covered under your CC&Rs, right here.
Okay.
Under
my what now?
your CC&Rs is your restriction for each unit, your codes for each unit.
Where do I get a copy of those?
They should be in the folder they give to you when you bought here.
Okay, I guess I read them, but it's been a number of years.
Well,
ago.
but it's in your CC&Rs.
Okay.
And most people think that the CC&Rs are controlled by the board, but your codes for each individual unit is controlled by each individual unit. So you go around, if you got a problem in your thing now, if they got long grass and something growing in your yard, you can report that to the director of operations, and maintenance can cut it and charge them $75. But as far as the other conditions in your CC&Rs, you have to look at your CC&Rs and talk to your neighbors.
Okay.
There's always another booklet too that you should have got when you bought, and it's called Rules and Regulations. That covers a lot more too.
I don't believe I got that one.
Well, you can always pick a copy up here in the office.
In the office, okay, I'll do so.
architectural, that falls under architectural committee, right? With all the things she was talking about, pretty much.
Very good. But the rules and regulations. Did you sign up, Ms. Daniels? You didn't? Oh, shame on you. You want something to say?
Yes, if
All
I
right.
may.
I think we can hear it.
I think that it's abhorrible, absolutely deplorable that a board member would circulate a petition to get rid of other board members. I can see no good excuse for it, and I question that it isn't breaking rules and regs for the organization. Furthermore, I think this board member, whoever is doing it, and I got a telephone call yesterday stating from somebody way far away that a petition was being circulated, and I now find that this is more of a known item than I thought it was. Apparently, information about the petition, about the request or desire to get rid of certain board members was discussed at a quote-unquote open meeting, that only those who had a certain or were on a certain email list got the information that was going to be happening. I was not one of those, and I have to say, had I been one of those, I'd have gone to the meeting and tried very hard to debunk the individual that's pulling this stunt. And I think it is a stunt, and it is something we should all hate big time.
That concludes the 15-minute discussion. We're going to take, this is now 10:12. We're going to adjourn to executive session.
What's the official time, sir?
10:12. And we shall return at the end.
I